Welcome to High-End Client Acquisition Podcast. My name is Marian. I'm your host, and this show is here to teach you how to attract your dream clients on autopilot in 30 days or less. Each week, I bring you a guest or a strategy that can help you take your business to the next level. Don't forget, you can always get the episodes in your inbox or messenger at clientacquisitionpodcast.com. Robert, so first of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on this episode today. Like people heard from the intro, the awesome things that you've been doing for a while now, for so many years, and also working with so many authors, transforming them into bestsellers, international bestsellers, and all the rest of the great things that you do. But the one thing that I really love about your company and your way of doing things is the hybrid ghostwriting process. So for people that may be not familiar with what that even means, do you mind to let us know, like, how did you come up with that? Why is that important? And the reason that I want to know that, especially for the audience, is you made me rewrite my entire book, maybe even you without knowing it.
Well, look, it's great to be with you. I'm honored to talk to you about this stuff, and I'm sorry I made you rewrite your whole book. Sounds,
in a good way.
Sounds painful.
Good way.
Yeah, hybrid ghostwriting is interesting. I mean, it came completely out of necessity for me, and it didn't come from a textbook, and it didn't come from watching somebody else's YouTube video, and it didn't come from buying a course. It came from a guy that isn't a natural writer. I'm much more a natural speaker and communicator. And honestly, it was difficult for me to write. And what I found as people came to me when I started bestseller publishing, as people came to me, I mean, I've had people that have written checks for $45,000 to ghostwriters and got nothing, and then came to me and wrote me another big check to go through our process. And I've just seen so many people get stuck in the ghostwriting phase that I just knew that it's broken. Like the way traditional ghostwriters do it doesn't work. And so I kind of crafted this thing myself out of, and obviously perfected it over, the last 8 or 9 years that we've been doing it, to really help people to, that are like me, right? That aren't your daily writers, that are writing and are expert writers, which is like 1% of the population anyway. The rest of us kind of struggle with it. We don't know how to put our content together. So that's who it's for.
Awesome. So what I like to even go, I want to go a little deeper in terms of like, how can people replicate that if they have no idea? And maybe out of this interview, maybe a lot of people will have to rewrite their entire book, because I have a bunch of questions ready for you.
Yeah.
Essentially, you talk about, and also in your book, and we'll make sure to link it up in the show notes.
Sure, thanks.
Talk about how to actually talk and speak in front of a camera or in front of an audience.
Yeah.
It was like a TEDx talk, every single chapter of it.
Yeah.
Do you mind just to talk a little bit about that?
No, I'm happy to. It's the way I created my last book. I have a new one coming out. It's the way I created that. So here's a little bit of the background, and then I can go into, if you like every step for someone to do it themselves. But yeah, that book that's right up on my shelf, the red one, is kind of what started it all. And I wrote a really big check back in 2008 to a ghostwriter to get my book written. And, she did everything that a traditional ghostwriter does. We did a series of interviews. She asked me questions. I answered those questions. And when it was all done, I had I think it was a 186-page book that I was so excited about. I mean, this took 8 months to get done.
Oh, wow.
And when I started reading it, I knew by the second chapter I read that, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And it wasn't horrible because it was bad grammar or bad sentence structure. It was horrible because it just was so generic. It sounded like anybody could have written it, because anybody could have, right? She got content, but not context. And context comes from your stories, your examples, your case studies, that kind of thing. So I noticed, the best short kind of version speaking engagements are TED Talks. They're about, 17, 18 minutes long. which is the perfect length of a chapter. And the best ones start with a story. Oftentimes they have like an open loop, which means they don't culminate the story. And then they go into the main, usually 1 point or 2 points that they want to make. And then they kind of culminate the story, end strong with a big conclusion. And I was like, that's a great way to create like chapter content, because you're captivated from the very beginning. and they move you through this process of teaching you something. And so I started creating my content in that way. And that's the way obviously this is a simplified version, but the idea is, you start your chapter with a story. The story can be a case study. It can be from your life. It can be a story from history or sports or whatever, anything. Think Malcolm Gladwell, in the book Outliers. He doesn't tell his own story. He tells the story of the Beatles, right? And, he talks about, the 10,000 hour rule and how the Beatles did this. And then he leaves an open loop. Like, he doesn't culminate the story and then he teaches and he comes back around and culminates. It's the same kind of idea. So you start with a great story. You have like some kind of open loop that forces the subconscious of the reader to say, how does it end, right? You may even know how it ends, right? The Beatles became the most famous band in the world, but you still want to know, right? You still want him to finish his point. And then you go into the main points that you're teaching, which typically are, 1, 2, 3 things. And you culminate the story with a great conclusion. And the only thing that we add in at the end of every chapter that you don't see in a TED Talk is next steps. Like, you want to take the reader from the book back to your website, back to additional content, so that you can begin having a two-way conversation instead of a one-way conversation. And that's, that's a simplified version, but that's how we formulate each chapter for a client that comes to us for our ghostwriting program.
Got it. So for people that may not clearly understand the whole thing, is people will record these chapters. Maybe they would give a quick workshop or whatever it is, even if it's in front of just a couple of people. Yeah. But how important do you think it is for someone to have a small audience, even if you do like a small workshop, versus if that person would give the same talk in front of a camera? Like, how much do you think does it make a difference? Or you can just go and talk the same thing in front of a camera and just send that to the ghostwriter? Would that be the same thing, you think?
It could be the same thing. Here's the challenge. And first, I love that idea, and I'll even share with you what I just did for my next book. But for most people, that's like an added level of complexity in their business. Like, meaning that, they're already thinking, wow, I want to get my book done. I want to get my content out of me. And if they have to add the complexity to, I'm going to create an event, or I'm going to do an online series or whatever, then that adds, they'll never do it, right? That just adds all of these complexities that are unnecessary. Now, for someone that has an audience and someone that routinely teaches people and maybe has live events, etc., that's fantastic. And you should absolutely do it. So I just did a test kind of campaign that just ended about 3 weeks ago. And the test campaign was a Facebook program that I called the Ultimate Book Writing Group. And I basically did 7 or 8 trainings that were each 17 to 20 minutes long. And then I made an offer at the end. And this took like a 12-day period to do. And it did really well. I made a lot of money. But what was cool for me is that I did everything in this process. So it was almost like I was creating a book while I was teaching and making money at the same time. So I am just sending off my transcripts to my editor to go through. They're not going to be perfect. They're really rough because that's part of the problem, right? When you're doing this interactively, you're answering people's questions, you're going off the cuff. And so it does add a lot more complexity to an editor. But I have a whole team of editors, so that's not so much of a problem. But I do love that. I just wouldn't recommend it to people unless they already do it regularly.
Got it. So ideally, you would just have them record the regular video because it's the easiest way to do. You can do it on the phone. Doesn't matter what the quality is because nobody would see those videos.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Or an audio, or just freeconferencecall.com kind of thing, or you can use rev.com on your an app on your phone. That's what I did when I wrote this book. When I wrote this, I just used rev.com and spoke into it, and I told my story, and then I paused and I wanted to think through, because you're not doing all this off the cuff, right? Like you want an outline in front of you. And telling a compelling story is not easy. Oftentimes that's the biggest challenge that our clients have, is like they know the story, but they have to really think through the elements of the story so they can tell it in a compelling way. So I don't want to make it sound easier than it is, but the format is simple. And if you follow the format, you'll create great content, but you have to you have to tell a great story, right? And you have to have a smart open loop, and that has to lead in really nicely into the points that you want to make, and then that has to lead back into smoothly, the close of your story, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a simple way to create compelling content.
Got it. I guess it's the difference between it's simple to implement.
Yeah.
It's not easy because you still have to be an expert. You still have to tell stories. That makes a lot of sense. When you say stories, every chapter has to have a different story, or you can tie, let's say, the first chapter story with the second and the third, or do you actually prefer each chapter has maybe a slightly different story? And again, like you said, it doesn't have to be from your own experience. It can be from your clients, from your friends, from other people. But do you recommend, if you have 6 chapters or 9 chapters or whatever, each chapter has to come with his own story?
It depends on the kind of book that you're writing. In Publish, Promote, Profit, the book that I was writing, I have hundreds of case studies. So I'm teaching people and at the same time building my own credibility and authority in people's eyes. So telling my own story wouldn't do that as much as telling my clients' stories in the case studies of this book. We have a new client that was just in our office, which is kind of unusual because our clients are all over the world, but he was just in our office last night and he was asking some questions. And so I pulled a book off the shelf. And this was a client that we did a book for who was a CEO in Asia who turned around a tech company and sold it for hundreds of millions of dollars. And basically, he told his entire book was one story. So it was the story of the turnaround of this tech company. However, in saying that, like every chapter was a different element of that story, right? It was, the ups and downs, the cyclical ups and downs of going from a failing tech company that he entered to a successful tech company that he exited. So, it was the same thread, running through the entire story, but, there were different elements in every chapter. So it just depends on what you're writing.
Got it. No, that makes perfect sense. Since you said roughly these videos should be, or audios, 15 to 20 minutes long, right? How many chapters do you think ideally a nonfiction book should have? Like now you've been working with so many authors. What have you seen as a common trend, or I guess, right? Like what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, good questions. This is all studied and Amazon has all the data on this, but basically the consumption falls off tremendously after about 175 pages. And that is somewhere in the range of 35 to 40,000 words. So once you get to 40,000 words, people look at the book and they start feeling like, wow, this is a real project to get through it. And so you want something that has, some mass to it, right? But at the same time doesn't intimidate people, so that they never pick it up because they're afraid they're not going to get through it. So you can have as few as 5, 6, 7 chapters, or as many as 11, 12, 15 chapters, as long as you think in terms of those chapters equaling a book that isn't more than 150 to 175 pages. This book, we have introduction, basically the way I set up table of contents is in 3 sections: Publish, Promote, Profit. And then I have I got a preface, an introduction. I have, the 3 main sections with multiple chapters in each section and a conclusion. And that's 12 chapters or something like that. So that's a good way for it to flow. The next book I'm doing, though, only has 7 chapters, and it's still about the right length. So think more about the number of words than the number of chapters.
Got it. And out of the 15, 20-minute audio, usually what do you get out? 15, 20 pages, less?
Yeah, exactly. And you know how that is with a 15 to 20 minute audio, you plan on it going 15 minutes and you look and it's 27 minutes, right? And so there's a lot of fluff that you need to cut out and all of that. So we tell our authors 15 to 20 minutes, but oftentimes they're going very, very long. So I say more 15 to 20 minutes so people think in terms of, wow, this is short and I need to be concise. But the truth is oftentimes you'll go longer than that. And so, yeah, you're going to get, in a 15-minute thing, you're going to get 15 good solid pages out of it. And if you have 10 chapters or 11 chapters, then there's your 100 60, 70 page book.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. I like to get a little tactical, I guess, into this process. And because you have like so much experience with this, how important do you think nowadays is picking the categories, especially for a nonfiction book, right? Because like a lot of people, a lot of upcoming authors, including myself, you may look and say, all right, I want to be a best-selling author in this category, but maybe you look at the competitors and you realize like, oh, damn, you're competing with people like maybe Gary Vee and Russell Brunson that have sold, tens of thousands of books. How are you even able to think that you're going to be able to compete with that type of stuff? Is there a way to identify categories and subcategories and still be relevant to your industry? Because I know, you could pick some random subcategory and that could probably, make an easy way for you. But can you give us some thoughts on that? How can you pick up the category and subcategories, but still be relevant to your industry?
Yeah, it's honestly probably a lot less important than you might think it is, unless you're totally thinking like some scammers do, and I know you're not, but unless somebody listening is thinking like the scammers do, and I want to be called a bestseller, even though, I got on the underwater basket weaving category for 5 minutes, right? So I'm a bestseller. And some people do that and teach that, right? But the way we look at things is, look, if you do it the right way, and the right way has a lot of elements. It has the element of choosing the right keywords in your title and subtitle and making, your book attractive. It has the elements of writing a great book description. It has the elements of doing a great book launch, getting solid, real reviews for your book, right? Which is not easy. It's hard to do that. I got lots of buddies in the industry and I had to work hard. I mean, they're all like, yeah, I'll give you a review. And of course I'll give you a review, Rob, you're great. And then they never do, right? Because they get busy. And so it's hard to do. You have to stay on it. And then, we do a big book launch for our clients with real paid advertising, real social media marketing, real press releases. So when you do it right, the category doesn't matter as much, to be quite honest. You want a good category. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't work hard to choose the best category, but it doesn't matter as much. You're not worried about who your competition is when you do it right. In fact, you want to be in a category with Russell Brunson and Gary Vee because that's a category that's going to get a lot of attention. And so if your book is right below Russell and Gary, then holy cow, they're going to see your book every time they see their book. So when you do it right, you don't shy away from the bigger categories. When you're just trying to, throw some spaghetti against the wall and hope it sticks, then you're looking for the little categories and you're just trying to slide by, which, that never works in the long run. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I appreciate you being transparent because that's what we like to, show to the audience and also explaining them step by step. So I appreciate that a lot. How long do you think it takes? Like from the time, and I know, people can find this exact process in your book, but if you can maybe give us the short version of from the time that your book is edited, you upload it to Amazon, you have your keywords ready to go, the cover looks good. How long does it take from that moment up until you can say, because I know Amazon, and correct me if I'm wrong, updates their filters like every hour or every
hour.
How long does it usually take? And I know it can range, but how long does it take to actually get the first, or is there a way for you to know and say, okay, I know this is going to be a bestseller, like 100%. Is there a formula for that? And how long does it take usually? And again, just from a perspective of doing it legit and
it doesn't take long, relatively speaking. I'll just tell you our process. And it also is dependent upon the assets that you have and work with, right? And what I mean by assets is how big your own email list is. If you have a successful podcast that people are paying attention to, if you have a social media following, let's say you have no assets, you don't have an email list, you don't have a social media following, you don't have anything, which I didn't have anything when I wrote that first book, right? Really, especially in that space. So when you do it the right way, the first step is to get as many Amazon verified reviews as possible. And where is that going to come from? That's going to come from your sphere of influence. So you're going to go to your clients, your current clients, your past clients, your Facebook friends. You're going to email your family members, your sphere of influence, any networking groups you're a part of, right? You're going to personally reach out to, 50, 80, 100 plus people. I mean, I sent at least 100 copies of these out to a lot of my buddies. And obviously I got some really good ones like Russell, who wrote my foreword, and Kevin Harrington and other people, but tons of others that promised me they would do it, never did. And so what we like is we like our clients and our team, because we have a big following as well, and we help with our clients' reviews. But we want to take 2 or 3 weeks to get at least 10, 12. And if they do a good job, they're going to get 20, 25 Amazon verified reviews. So right out of the gate, they're looking super solid. Because if you ever search a topic on Amazon and start scrolling through the books, you're going to see like 85% of the books don't have more than like 5 reviews. The vast majority do not. And so if you already have 10, 12, 15 reviews right out of the gate, then Amazon's going to take notice of that. They're going to adjust their algorithms to send you, some traffic. You may even hit during that period of time, like a hot new release, which is something that we shoot for with our clients. And you're going to have a really good base foundation. So let's say that takes 3 weeks, long version, and that's going to take some hustle, right? And then after that, we do a week-long launch. All this is based on the digital version of the book, where we focus on, and I talk about it in Publish, Promote, Profit, so anybody can pick it up and read it and learn it. But we over that week period, we do 3 national press releases that go out to 1,000 media outlets. We do paid advertising on like 50 different worldwide websites, really big sites. We do big social media campaign, Twitter, Facebook, at least, and we send a lot of traffic to it. So during that period of time, we're going to get hundreds, and in many cases, thousands. I think mine was downloaded 5,000 or 6,000 times. That book was over 12,000 downloads in the first week. It was the #1 nonfiction book on all of Amazon during the launch, like outsold Tony Robbins, Dave Ramsey, all these people. And that was a long time ago, of course. But so if you do it right, you're going to blow it up. And you're just sending traffic to it. And then after that, it is a bestseller, and it's usually a bestseller in tons of categories and multiple countries. And you have all these good reviews, and then reviews start coming in organically, right? You'll get reviews from people that you've never met, because people are now, Amazon sending traffic to it, people are buying it. So start to finish, you can do it in a month.
Got it. No, that's super helpful. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially the launch part where you said you're going to send a lot of traffic to it. So if we can go a little bit into that, for example, I know maybe a lot of people would ask themselves, like, does it make, like, what's the big difference from PR versus paid ads on social, like Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Twitter, whatever, versus Amazon ads? Like, do these work hand in hand? Do you do them in a specific order? What would be the best, I guess, process for that?
Yeah, that's good. So we do it in a specific order. So when you talk about PR to us is not the press releases. Some people call that PR, but because you'll get some logos, right? Like ABC, in Wichita, Kansas will pick up your press release. But to us, you weren't on ABC TV in Wichita, Kansas. So, some people will put their logo on their site, but that's really cheesy if you ask me. So for us, that launch period is just all about hitting bestseller. After that, we do real PR and media. So, I have an in-house PR team that book our clients on radio, TV, real television, blogs, podcasts, etc. In fact, do you know Natasha Hazlitt? She's one of Russell's. She's spoken on ClickFunnels stages.
I don't know her personally, but yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, great lady. She's a client of ours, and she just messaged us this morning. We've gotten her on TV all over the country. We launched her book to bestseller, and she now has just messaged me just before I got on this, that she now has a traditional publisher that she's meeting with next week that wants to buy the publishing rights of this book and pay her to do her next book, because they've seen how well this book is done and all the TV and media that she's gotten. So for us, the process is get the book successful, get good reviews, make it a bestseller, and then you parlay that bestseller status to all of the media. You tell ABC News in Los Angeles, hey, this book hit bestseller in a week. It's bestseller in multiple countries. You want to have this author on to talk about their expertise. That's how we get our clients media. So to us, that comes after. And what we also do at the same time, although this is a little bit newer for us, is the Amazon ads. Because, depending on how you want to use your book, and if you really want to get sophisticated on this, you know how we use it. We do a free plus shipping funnel, and some of our more marketing savvy clients do that as well, because that's how we bring clients in through Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and our social media. And so we actually compete with Amazon. Amazon still sells my book and I get royalties every single month, but I don't ever get that client data. I want the client data, right? I want someone to buy this and then start a relationship with me and my team and write a big check to us and become a client of ours. And that's what most of my clients want as well, because they're coaches, consultants, experts, et cetera. So that's kind of the order for us.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I was actually about to ask you, but you kind of answered it already. I was wondering, like, when you do the book launch, are you sending the traffic to a regular landing page just so you'd be able to retarget them, or you send them straight to the Amazon ebook, to the Kindle file?
Well, let me be clear on that. So when we do the book launch, we send them straight to Amazon.
Got it. So all the traffic goes to Amazon.
Yeah, because all we're trying to do during the book launch is make it a bestseller. We're not trying to get the client data at that point. Now, we know that we're missing out on some dollars, right? More than likely, because we're sending this traffic to Amazon. But you know how it is. I mean, if you send someone to an opt-in page, even if it's a great opt-in page, 60% of the people are just going to go away and they're never going to fill it out. So we would rather just send them right to Amazon, because all we're trying to do is hit bestseller. As soon as that's done, though, we're in competition with Amazon. Now, hey, Amazon, sell as many as you want. But guess what? Every ad I do, every blog post I do, I'm sending them to my own version of, Publish, Promote, Profit, because I want the client data.
Got it. And that actually even brings me to the next part, where do you make a strategy out of this once the book hits bestseller? Like, would you increase the price of the book on Amazon? So when you do the free plus shipping, to make it even more appealing to people, saying that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we tell our clients to list the paperback book between $19.95 and $24.95. And so, yeah, Amazon will ship it for free, but mine is $24.95. So you can get it from me for $7.95 and I'll ship it to you. Or you can pay $24.95 and let Amazon ship it to you. Where are you going to go? So I do undercut them, right, in that way. But by the same token, I probably make $1,000 or $1,200 a month in royalties from Amazon. So Amazon is selling my book every single month, that people don't see me. They don't know who I am. They just go on Amazon looking for this and they find it. And I still want those sales as well, because, everywhere throughout the book, including the very, very first page of the book, I'm offering them a free gift and saying, come back and see me. Here's this free thing. Come to my funnel. And I'll give you this. And so I'm trying, even within the book, to start that conversation.
No, I love that. And also I love the fact, I remember after I bought your book, I think I went on Amazon on Kindle just to check if that first page is also there.
Yeah.
Because my question to you becomes, like, even if people don't buy it, because if they click to preview it, the first page is right there. So you can probably still get a lot of people that opt into that course just by, even if they don't buy it on Kindle, which is
100%. Yep, 100%. You want to put it as early as possible in the book, because the preview always previews the beginning of the book. And so this way you'll get the preview you'll get what you want them to see in every preview.
No, I think that's super smart, and it's something that I don't see in a lot of books when you go.
It's true.
What I also love in your book is you talk really specifically how to generate even speaking engagements from the book, and how to do it in a way that actually grows your business, not necessarily just the regular model of getting paid to speak. Can you talk a little bit about how would you use your book to generate more speaking engagements, even if you speak for free, but you can monetize a lot of it on the back end?
Yeah, and I have clients that get paid to speak, and I have clients that speak for free, probably more that speak for free. Everybody thinks the dream is to be paid to speak. Not everybody, but lots of people. And I just do some math with my clients. I'm like, look, let's say that you make, let's go high. If you've never been paid to speak, let's say someone's going to write you a $10,000 check to come and do an hour-long speech. Well, if you want to make $500,000, you've got to be on the road 50 weeks a year. I mean, that sounds horrible to me. I love my wife, my kids, my dogs. You know what I mean? I love playing golf with my friends every week. I don't want to do that. So So I try not to dissuade people from speaking, but I want to let them know that I think speaking has a place, but you have to think in terms of how can you turn a $10,000 engagement to a $100,000 engagement. I speak maybe 3 or 4 times a year. That's it. And I speak on stages that I'm expecting to make $100,000 from because my ideal client is in the audience. So how do you do that? Well, one simple way to do that is, let's say none of these people know who you are, which is probably very common. You would want your book to position you as the authority. So if you just reach out to somebody cold and try to get them on the phone, and I have some clients that do that successfully, believe it or not, it's hard to do that. The better way to do it is to send your book in advance, ship it. Pay the $3 to print it yourself. That's all it costs typically. Ship it, FedEx, or USPS for another $2. Get it on the desk of your ideal client in a nice big lumpy package with a nice introduction letter. Follow up 2 or 3 days later with the gatekeeper, because you're not going to talk to them in most cases. You're going to talk to the secretary. Just make sure that they've gotten the book. I mean, you've got their attention now. They see your book. If you've titled it right and if you've done a good job with it, then you've shown them, hey, this is on topic for what you do and what your event is. And and even extra step is you can put a little sticky note right on their personally hand addressed and say, Marian, hey, I was thinking about you. I wanted to send you a free copy of my book. And there's a story that I think really relates to you and your business on page 132. Because you can't expect them to read it from start to finish. But you know what? If someone took the time to put a sticky note on it and said, hey, I thought about you, even though I've never met you, and there's something on page 132 for you, I'm turning there and reading it, right? I mean, how long will that take? And so you'll get their attention that way. You personalize it. And then you or even an assistant can follow up with a phone call, talk to their gatekeeper and say, look, did, he or she get the book? Yes, they did. Great. Maybe they haven't had time to go through it yet, but, my boss's speaking schedule is filling up for the fall. Would it be worthwhile for us to get them together for a 5-minute chat, 5-minute introduction? And usually it's yes, right? I mean, it's 5 minutes, right? It's no big deal. But now you're positioned as the authority. Your book is on the desk. You've personalized it. And now you're having a conversation with them positioned in the right way, framed in the right way. Now, you're not going to get that with every book that you send out. But if you send out 5 a week regularly, what does that cost? $25 a week? If you have an assistant doing it, it takes 2 hours. So let's say it costs $50 a week to do something like that, $200 a month. You're going to get speaking engagements every single month on your ideal platforms. You just are. You can't not if you're consistent with it. So, I mean, that's one thing that we teach our clients that really seems to work with the book.
No, I think that's super powerful. And just the process itself, it's not easy, but it's simple to implement.
Yeah.
And just the positioning part, I love how you talked about it. No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know you may get this question a lot, but is it possible from Amazon, like once, let's say you become the bestseller using the ebook, to put it in bookstores, or you have to take a different approach? You have to actually go through a publishing company. Like what's your thought on that?
You don't have to go through a traditional publisher to get in bookstores. So you don't need to worry about that, but you do have to take a different tact with it. It's not going to happen accidentally. So there are some steps involved and there's some elbow grease involved. I'll come back to the thing that I want to say most of all, but let's say that you want to do it and this is important to you. You need to have, ideally, you should have your book on Barnes & Noble's platform. So that's an additional step. Just because you're on Amazon doesn't mean you're on Barnes & Noble. So, you want to get your book into Barnes & Noble's nationwide or even in certain stores, then the first step is you got to go online and you've got to go through the steps to get your book listed with Barnes & Noble, right? Which typically, if your book is done well on Amazon and you've showed, good reviews and some success, then that's not going to be a problem. But that's going to be a second step after Amazon. The next thing that you want to do after that, and you should probably do a secondary launch on Barnes & Noble so that you drive some traffic and get their attention, right? So you do the first launch to get Barnes & Noble to let you in their store. You do a second launch and drive traffic to it to, show Barnes & Noble that this is a significant book. Sometimes that's enough, and they're going to put, your book in their bookstore. We launched Kaylin Toole, Lady Boss. Maybe it's 2 years ago now. And through her launch, her book became the #1 book on all Barnes & Noble. Wow. I mean, it outsold everybody, outsold, all the top people. And that was a really significant thing. And so they just wanted her book in bookstores. There was not a lot that needed to be done. Now, not many people can do that, but let's say you get some attention and it's a top 100 bestseller, they're going to be interested in putting it in the bookstores. And so that can happen. But what you should also do is you can go into your local Barnes & Noble, and you should, and talk to the manager and, kind of directly, get some traction there in that store to get your book in it. And oftentimes that will start a little, especially if you're sending some traffic to the Barnes & Noble page, that's going to help with getting into multiple stores and letting it grow. So there's elbow grease and there's work involved, but absolutely, positively, it can be done. Now, here's the thing that I would say first and foremost. Who cares? I mean, it's ego. It is what it is. When was the last time that you bought a book in a Barnes & Noble as compared to buying a book on Amazon? I don't know about you, but I can tell you, I buy books every single week on Amazon, and I cannot tell you the last time I bought a book in a Barnes & Noble.
I don't remember either. I literally don't remember.
It's all ego. That's all it is. And so if you let go of your ego and focus your attention on what's really going to make you money and make you an impact, this is what I tell my authors also about book signings. I'm like, look, you can go to a Barnes & Noble or a bookstore and do a book signing, and you'll have, if you market it, you'll have 5, 6, 7, 10 people there. Or you can take 30 minutes and do a Facebook Live and get in front of 50 or 100. Come on, it's ego. It is not the most productive use of your time and money and energy. Some people still want to do it, and hey, whatever floats your boat, but it's not the most productive thing to do.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's funny how you said if you market it, you might get 5 to 6 people to show up for the.
It's true. It's true. It is absolutely true. New York Times bestselling authors go and do book signings, and and they got a line, but it's 30
huge
people.
Audiences. Yeah,
it's 40 people. If that same person went on a big podcast or went on and did a Facebook Live, and oh my gosh, they would blow it up. So it's old school. It's a dinosaur. But everybody is a little bit different. I have buddies that have their books in Barnes & Nobles, and what do? They go and they take the picture of their book in the bookstore. That's all it is, man. Right? That's, the truth. You don't buy it. I don't buy it. The people listening to this don't buy from Barnes & Noble. You buy your stuff online and it gets shipped to your house the next day and you're reading it. It's just the way it is. So
no, but thank you for sharing the process for at least,
Yeah, you can do it if you want to do it.
Thank you for that. Awesome, Rob. So I know we're getting close to wrapping things up in here. What we like every single time with all of our guests is to give the audience 2 action steps. Number 1 is a short-term task that they can implement tonight to maybe get closer to, publish their book or at least writing it or whatever. And then second, a long-term, something that they can work for the next couple of months. Do you mind, what's your advice for people listening or watching this on a short-term task and one on a long-term?
Yeah, great question. So short-term task is simple. And that is take some time tonight and get out a notebook and a journal or pen and paper, or if you're a computer person and you prefer that more, I'm a pen and paper kind of guy, and answer this question. Why do I want to write a book? Why is it important to me? The deeper you go with that question, the more you'll find your own desire and motivation. The biggest challenge, it's hard to write a book. I work with a lot of really smart, successful people, and many of them have been trying to write their book for 5 years, 10 years, right? Here are these people, some of them worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they can't write a freaking book. And so what's the real problem? The problem is they're not properly motivated. And so if you want to write a legacy book, right, for future generations, properly motivate yourself. How meaningful will that be to your kids, your grandkids, your family members that don't know you? How important will that be? Would that be important to you if you had something written from your mom or your dad or your great grandfather or somebody that fought in World War II that was a relative of yours? Would it be important to you to read that? If it's about your business and you know that you have competitors that have written books and done really well, and you've seen other people write books and blow up their business, then how important is it to you to blow up your business like that, to get on TV, radio, be a best-selling author, use your book to position you? Is that important to you? So I just get clear, on what your motivation is to do this, because it's hard to do. It's hard to do even with help from a company like me, and you can only do it if you're clear, man, I am blowing it. I am losing money and I am wasting time. And if I don't get my act together, then, this is never going to happen, which is the truth. So just get clear on your own motivation. Well, is this just a cute little thing? Hey, great. Then you probably will never do it. Right? It's too hard, right? It's too hard if it's just a cute little, thing. But if it's wow, I have something to say and I want to make a difference and I want to leave this to future generations and I want to blow up my business with this, then get your act together and write your book. So that's long-winded. I'm sorry for the long-winded answer there, but I'm pretty passionate about that part of it. Come on, man, do it. Yes, do it. And then longer term, the most important thing that you can do is not start writing, because you'll end up rewriting your book like you shared at the beginning. The most important thing you can do is map out your book. Start with, who am I trying to hook? Who is my ideal reader? Who is my ideal client? Who's the person I'm trying to get in touch with here? And then what could I say in the title and subtitle that would get their attention and make them want to buy it? And then what would and I'm giving a very simplified version, but what would the table of contents be? So if you can do anything in the next month or two, is map out the foundation, the skeleton of your book, because it will make everything else 10 times easier in the actual completion of it.
Love that. So just to recap for people listening, short term, make sure you write the goals, and then long term, instead of writing the book, write at least the table of contents and the outline of it. And that will take you a couple weeks to put it in place, right?
Yeah, it will. I mean, you want to do research there. It takes us a few weeks with our team to do that with clients. So if you do it on your own, you're probably not going to whip it out in a day.
Awesome. No, love that. So Rob, for people that want to find out more about Publish, Promote, Brand, and everything that you guys offer, where would you like people to go and check out?
Yeah, lots of places to find us, but the simplest might be just to go and get the book, publishpromoteprofit.com. That's the website. That's where, someone can get it for free, plus the $7.95 shipping charge. There are other things that we offer if they're interested in it, like the audio book and the workbook and various other things. And they can certainly get to know us more. Otherwise, if they don't want to spend the $7.95, then they can go on social media and find Bestseller Publishing. That's my company. Bestsellerpublishing.org is who we are too.
Love it. And we'll also put in the show notes all the links that Rob just mentioned, but also we'll do a little giveaway. So I'll personally buy 10 books and I'll ship it to, I guess, the 10 best comments.
Nice.
On what is the biggest takeaway out of this interview. So I'll do that myself, and I'll buy 10 books, and then we'll just give it away to people for the 10 winners, I guess.
Yeah, dude, that's super smart. I'm on a lot of podcasts. I haven't heard anybody else do that. That's really smart.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll probably do, if you agree, maybe a follow-up in a couple of months to see, because I'm pretty sure people will love this. I never had anybody talking about this process so far, so I know people will love this.
Awesome.
Content.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, man. And depending on when, I may have my next book out by that time. So, I can talk about how the system worked for me.
100%. Thank you so much again.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Hey, podcast listeners, I want you to know that I really appreciate your attention and I don't take it lightly. That's why each month we pick a lucky winner and we give away books, mentorship, software, courses, iPads, and other cool stuff. The way to enter is go to clientacquisitionpodcast.com and sign up. You'll get all the details there. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.